Let's shift to the other part of the world for a moment, Van, in Vietnam. Uh, what is the opportunity in the domestic market there? I think you mentioned to me before that there's a live shrimp market there. Again, if we're looking to expand and do different things in different places, what about Vietnam?
We all know that Vietnam is a producing country, but we often not talk much about Vietnam means as a consuming country, right, for shrimp. And I'm not a market analyst myself, but we got the opportunity to work with shrimp farmers across the country and also to sell the shrimp in local markets and we have the chance to observe very strong domestic markets in Vietnam. So Vietnamese people have very strong appetite for fresh shrimp and mostly live shrimp from the farms. And in Ho Chi Minh City, there's a very big seafood wholesale market that can sell on average 200 tons of shrimp per night. And we have several other wholesale markets across the country and many smaller wholesale market for shrimp. So we do not have the official data because it's very scattered, but we can expect to have something like 400, 500 tons per night. If you look into Vietnamese restaurant, for example, everywhere you go, you will see shrimp in the menu. And with the growing population, we are reaching very close to Japan's population, for example. And in Continental's data, we see that Japan consumes about 200,000 tons per year. I think Vietnam is not there yet, but getting close to Japan's level of consumption. We don't have the official data, but I see the increasing trend there.
It's very interesting. So actually, maybe a question for you, Van, and also Dr. Minaj. And then in a moment, we're going to ask Mr. Tang as well, with Iris's help. What about consumer purchasing power in our Asian nations where the economies are growing? Do consumers have the economy to consume shrimp? Is shrimp considered a luxury, and is it expensive to them? Dr. Minaj, maybe you can start because I know you're involved with that in India.
See, India is last 5-10 years is a very booming economy, and already we are somewhere about 4th place in the world. And yes, the purchasing power has increased from last 5-10 years, but definitely. And if you see that India has such a huge population, 1.5 billion almost, and the younger generation, and I think 65-70% people are below 50 age, if you consider an average. So I think, yes, and a lot of people, they don't understand or they mistaken is that India means a lot of vegetarian. But if you see the National Health Survey, I think 77 to 80% people are non-vegetarian. And if I think even with a small purchase capacity of even 500 grams per individual can also eat away the whole shrimp what we produce. So the potential is immense. And if you see the figures of China, everybody talks about China. If you go back and see last 10 years and before 15 years, there was hardly any consumption in China, especially on shrimp. So as the economy, as the purchase power has fared there very well, so the consumption of China has picked up. So I think same pattern India will definitely follow.
You have a restaurant, correct? I remember that. So what are you seeing in your restaurant, and community acceptance in food fairs or anything like that? I would be interested to hear how you see consumer acceptance and behavior.
Yeah, that's everybody asks me this question, that I'm a farmer and why I didn't try to approach the sales of local shrimp and why restaurant. Because if I studied what happens, those who tried earlier in domestic market, why they fail. Because just handovering a 1 kilo packet or 1 kilo fresh shrimp is not going to work. Because if you see India, 8,000 400 kilometers of coastline. And if you go inside hinterland, even 10, 15 kilometer, hardly anybody knows the shrimp. But the other side, if you see that India has 28 states, 8 union territories, 803 district headquarters, and 650,000 towns and villages. It's a huge population. And surprisingly, if you match the data of 18 million tons of freshwater fish, majorly 16 million of that is coming from the freshwater fish, and everything is consumed in domestic market. So right marketing, right placing the product. What I personally see last 7 years doing this this restaurant thing, people needs the culinary experience. Indian is full of masalas, curries, and spices. Mm-hmm. And if you try to give them just 1 kilo of shrimp and try to tell them just blanch it or saute it and eat it, so mostly they are not liking it. But now in my restaurant, experience is so good. Last 5, 6 years. Now, I started with a very modest experiment of 40, 50 seating. Now I double the capacity, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, their waiting list for 1 hour. But one thing we have to understand, India is not a preference or a food choice. It is attached to the sentiment of the religion. So in 365 days in India, hardly the non-vegetarian people will eat not more than 100 days, maybe 30%, 30% of the time. So that sentiment is a big thing in India. And I'm very sure when 18 million tons of fish can be consumed, and in another 4, 5 years, I'm very sure even 300, 400,000 tons it will be a very easy to see that domestic market development will be there.
I know there's a lot of course, vegetarians in India. Is there a portion of those who are flexible or might change their diet to consume shrimp or other seafood?
Actually, to be honest with you, as I told you, it's a sentimental thing and religion when it comes to the preference of the food. So it's a socio-politically, it's very difficult. But if I can relate you to the egg story, maybe 30 years back, there was hardly any egg consumption in India. But now the health awareness or the protein deficiency, whatever syndrome you call, egg market has picked up. So even I will say that out of 77, 80%, I'm telling you, most of the people definitely are taking eggs in India. But even if I address only to the 77% people, those are hardcore non-vegetarian. And if my motive is for the domestic shrimp consumption, even they eat even 100, 200 gram, even one dish on a Saturday or a Sunday will make a huge impact and huge difference for the domestic market.
George, I got the solution. We need to send Sarah to India. She could prescribe shrimp to all of them. Okay.